everyone, and welcome back, guys, to episode 8 of my F1 2017 McLaren Honda Career Mode, guys. And if you did miss out on the last episode, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. You know, so far this series, we've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And I think one of the main things we sort of need to focus on now is trying to build up a lot of R&D points over the next few races, because upgrades are just not really going on the car at the moment, and we really need to focus on it.
Everything okay? Do remember to let us know which areas of the car you'd like us to develop using the laptop. I'll leave that with you.
Yeah, that sort of just proves my point, really, does it? You know, we're really just not able to earn enough R&D points at the moment to put some proper effective upgrades on the car. And I think really I sort of need to focus on the powertrain, but I'm probably going to try and buy some of the to make the parts cheaper and also to give them a much better chance of actually working. Then we will probably have to grind out, you know, the rest of Season 1. Just trying to make sure, you know, the parts do actually work, guys. But let's move on then into the European Grand Prix. And I actually had a bit of a strategy idea. You know, one of you guys actually recommended it in the comments, and basically what the challenge, well, not challenge as such, basically the idea was that if I use some of the old parts again, you know, during qualifying and free practice, you know, I can really save myself some parts for, you know, more of the races. Now, I'm going to obviously go along with that strategy because it is just a really good strategy. So I'm going to put back on a load of old parts for this Grand Prix, and I'm actually just going to keep them on the car throughout this race. You know, Baku, such a long front straight, you know, we don't really stand much of a chance anyway. So, you know, if we get lucky and end up, you know, somewhat near the points, then I'll feel a little bit robbed. But really, you know, we don't stand much chance at Baku to score points, so I might as well, you know, just further shred some old engine parts for this Grand Prix. So, you know, we're not really coming in with high hopes, but, you know, anything can happen at the European Grand Prix. But moving on into free practice there, and obviously we've got to try and get as many R&D points as I possibly can, so, you know, we can actually start investing more in the car. And we've got the purple on the track acclimatization there, purple on the tyre wear there, so, you know, 100 R&D points nice and quickly in the early stages of this race weekend. And then we go green on the fuel conservation run there, so another 30 points there. And then moving on to the qualifying sim run, and down towards turn 3 here, and Carlos Sainz decides he's just, you know, going to get in the way, and unfortunately got lock up, go straight into the wall there, and that was sort of the end of free practice there. So a little bit unfortunate right at the very end, but, you know, we were still able to take home some good R&D points there from free practice, about 150, 170 if I'm not mistaken, 168 there, up to 619 points on the whole, as well as, you know, getting a couple of little things from the core competency progress there. You know, obviously as the #1 driver now, we do have a few more little things that we do need to do as part of the team. But then moving on into qualifying, and, you know, I didn't have high hopes once more for qualifying here. Coming down to the line, we're going to go provisionally in P5 there, but by the end of the session, we were unfortunately there all the way down in P19. Unfortunately, you know, for myself, there was just no pace in the car in qualifying. We were losing close to 2 seconds down the long front straight there. So, you know, you're just preparing yourself to go backwards in the race. So the only way to not go backwards is start at the back. And the only person really been able to out-qualify there was Esteban Ocon, who didn't even set a lap and had a 5-place grid penalty, guys. But let's move on then into the European Grand Prix. Not exactly high hopes for this race, but hopefully, you know, we can just get some good consistency, I hope.
Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position. A very happy Felipe Massa starts second. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Hamilton, Lance Stroll and Bottas, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, Sainz, Perez, Jolyon Palmer and Grosjean, Kvyat, Rixon, Stoffel van Dorn and Pascal Wehrlein. A McLaren and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid.
So here we are then, guys, ready for the European Grand Prix, and like, you know, most races where we start right at the very back, I'm probably just going to opt to try and go, you know, nice and long in the first stint, see where it takes me. You know, sometimes it works out, other times it doesn't, so. But, you know, hopefully we can just, I'd like to think, you know, we could potentially make a couple of positions. I think the aim really should just be to, you know, beat the race objective, which, if I'm not mistaken, is P17 now. But we're going to opt to start on a set of the medium tyres. Ready then for the European Grand Prix. We are on the grid now. It is 5 lights for the race at Baku, and it is lights out. And away we go at last there. Charlie Whiting definitely not eager to get the race underway there, and again, a lot of wheel spin off the start. The Sauber's already on the inside there, so I'm going to brake as late as possible, locking up in towards turn 1 here. But, you know, Rixon there going very, very aggressively over the front of me there. We're going to try and have a look down his inside in towards turn 2 there, pushing Verline ever so slightly through the next corner there. But Rixon able to hold it right around my outside there, you know, just so much extra grip on that set of these super soft tyres here. And now we've got Esteban Ocon trying to have a look down my inside in towards the next couple of corners here, and Ocon sort of squeezing me out a little bit wide over the curbs there, so I'm going to try and attack back at him through the exit of the corner there, and we're going to have the inside for the next corner, so just going to try and, you know, squeeze him out, hang him out to dry, if you will, and we do hold on to P19 of this Grand Prix for now. So we come through the next couple of corners here, we're just right on the gearbox of Marcus Ericsson here, losing the back end ever so slightly as we come on into Sector 2 of the first lap of this race. And impressed so far, you've been able to keep it clean, diving it down the inside of Marcus Ericsson, and VSC has now been enabled because there has just been an absolute pile-up at turn 8. You know, turn 8 has claimed its first victims of this Grand Prix, so, you know, we need to have a look as to what did happen to these guys further up the field here. We got a Renault and a Force India going side by side there, but I think it's actually going to be right near the very front. We got Valtteri Bottas and I think Daniel Ricciardo going side by side up towards turn 8 here, and, you know, this just isn't going to end well, is it? Bottas turns in way too early, goes straight back into Ricciardo there. I think Ricciardo's lost a wheel there. Bottas, I think, has come out unscathed, but I'm not 100%. Well, he's only lost his front wing there, but everyone behind it, we got Hulkenberg there doing what Hulkenberg does best, just turning in way too early and losing a wheel there as well. So at least 2 drivers out in the early stages of this Grand Prix. A couple of Hasses are involved there as well, but coming through the corner, you know, we can't really just sit around. Ericsson and myself, you know, going to just try and make our way through. We've made up not 11 positions through turn 8 there, thanks to the consistent ghosting system, I think it's safe to say, of this game. So you can just hear Jeff in the background there just talking about the MG UK, and, you know, it's not looking particularly good at the moment, but we're up into P8 of the Grand Prix there. So we've got 3 retirements so far in this race, but coming to the end of the safety car period here, we've got a couple of drivers also opting to dive into the pit lane here. We're closing up quite nicely to Pascal Wehrlein here, but, you know, this is going to be one of the only chances in the Grand Prix we're actually going to be able to defend against any AI here. So up to P7 now of the Grand Prix, and, you know, I'm already starting to regret going on to a old power unit here, but, you know, it's going to be interesting to see whether we can hold off the rest of the field. Ocon has already gone by before we even get to the end of lap 2 here, but through the final couple of corners we've got Romain Grosjean here. I'm not really going to try and get in the way of, going to go to the outside there, but he leans on me a little bit there. A bit of contact made between us there, somehow keeping it in the right direction. Palmer goes straight up into the back of me there. Grosjean's going to go down round my outside there. Van Dorn is going to try and have a look round my outside with 3 wide down in towards turn 1 here. Palmer on the inside, Van Dorn on the outside, make a little bit of contact with the pair of them there, and I'm just going to back out into turn 2 here. You know, 3 does not go into 1, into that corner. Van Dorn and Palmer barely able to, you know, keep it side by side through turn 2 there, and unfortunately we're back outside the points already. 4 positions lost in 1 lap here. You know, we've easily got the slowest car on the grid right now, on the slowest set of tyres as well. You know, I think for the rest of the Grand Prix, it's just going to be one of those races where we are just going to spend the whole race going backwards. You can see the engine is already really, really worn on so many parts here. And as we move on to the end of lap 4 of the Grand Prix, Sergio Perez now is going to fly past me here like I'm not even moving there, not even going to defend from him. We duck back into the slipstream, but Sergio Perez just so much quicker down this long front straight here. And, you know, next up behind me is Marcus Ericsson, who, if I'm not mistaken, has already made a pit stop here. And as we now move on to lap 9 of the race, Valtteri Bottas is going to fly past me as well. As you can see, the engine, we've got 4 parts now, over 50% wear here, so, you know, it's really just not looking like it's going to be our race here. As we move past the pit lane once more, we've got a couple of drivers opting, I think, to go into the pit lane there. No, we don't, not yet in the Grand Prix there, but I think, you know, it's going to be very, very soon we do see the first batch of AI going through the pit lane here as we now move on to lap 12 of the Grand Prix. You can see we've got more parts over 50% wear than we do have under 50%, where at the moment, so you know, that's not really particularly ideal in this Grand Prix here, but we've got Carlos Sainz here going to fly past me, and that's really, really demotivating. The fact that Toro Rosso can just absolutely blitz past me there, you know, it's quite painful to see. And, you know, more and more during this Grand Prix, I could see why Fernando Alonso basically rage quit in the Belgian Grand Prix last weekend, guys. And you can just see now we're up to P11 as a couple of drivers have opted to make their pit stops here. But, you know, there is just no power. We're just going backwards here, and at the end of the day, you know, we can't even really opt to go into the pit lane, you know, to try and save the engine, because we are sort of just on the cusp of points here, as now Valtteri Bottas is going to fly past me once more. So, you know, we can't really opt to make, you know, to retire from the Grand Prix, as, you know, there is still the potential of a couple of points scored in this Grand Prix, you know, if we have a couple of retirements here. But, you know, it's looking less and less likely at this moment in time. You know, if we get a well-timed safety car, it could really help me out. But on to the end of lap 14 here, we're going to dive it into the pit lane for hopefully my one and only stop of this Grand Prix here. Going to opt to take, you know, the set of the Super Softs, the final 11 laps of this Grand Prix here, as we come into the box, not particularly off to a particularly brilliant pit stop there of 2.7, but it felt a lot longer there, as Carlos Sainz has moved back past me here. We're just about going to come out ahead of Marcus Ericsson out of the pit lane there, forgetting almost to use the pit release there as we come out the pit lane. P14 at this moment in time, you know, we're a pit stop behind the points here, you know, it's not looking good as we move on to lap 19 now. We got Marcus Ericsson piling on the pressure, and you can see the ICE now is over 75% here, so it's completely shredded. There is no other way of describing it, you know, there is going to be no chance we're going to be able to use this any further on during the course of this season, guys. We've got Marcus Ericsson now, who's going to try and line up a move on myself. He's going to dive it down the inside in towards the next couple of corners there. Kvyat as well trying to have a look, but Ericsson squeezing me out wide over the curbs there, you know, not particularly nice from him. You know, we're struggling so much in this Grand Prix. We don't need any more help going backwards in this race, but Danny Kvyat is actually my championship rival, so I'm going to try and defend a little bit from him at this moment in time, guys. We come through the next couple of corners there, and Danny Kvyat is actually going to drop back just a little bit now as we move on to lap 22 of the Grand Prix, and now we have got Kevin Magnussen piling on the pressure, but we light up the rear wheels through turn 8 there, lose the whole front wing there, not exactly what I wanted. Now, as we've got blue flags right as well, we've got a Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel trying to get through, so we're just going to let both these guys through nice and quickly. You know, don't really need to get in the way there. No front wing left on this car, and as now we're going to move on to the end of lap 23, down into P16 of the race. We were down in last place there, and, you know, I said we may as well stay out in the Grand Prix, you know, because we were on the cusp of points, but we Fernando Alonso'd it at the very end of that Grand Prix. No front wing, last place. We were going to have to make another pit stop there, and there was just no chance we were going to be able to score points in that European Grand Prix there. So definitely, you know, not what I wanted from this Grand Prix. But sometimes, you know, we sort of opted onto a bit of, you know, it was one of those Grand Prix where it just wasn't ever going to end out well, you know, when we were going back onto parts that were so shredded, and unfortunately, you know, that's just sometimes the way it's going to play out, you know, in these first couple of seasons of the McLaren Honda career mode. You know, sometimes we just won't end up with good races. Other times, you know, it may end up going a lot better for myself, as we saw at races such as Monaco and Russia. But, you know, we've got to take the good with the bad during this season. And having a look then, Lewis Hamilton able to win the race ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Felipe Massa there, getting off to, you know, a wonderful podium for him once more. That is second podium of the season after Australia. You know, Felipe has just been outperforming that car absolutely ridiculously in the early stages of this season, guys. But Max Verstappen does just miss out on the podium there, and I think Esteban Ocon going from the back row to P5 there, a very strong showing from him in that Grand Prix there. Very well done to Esteban Ocon there, able to keep it out of instance there. But 6 retirements in that Grand Prix. Pascal Wehrlein, myself, Kimi Räikkönen, Lance Stroll, I think we had one of the Red Bulls there of Ricciardo, and Nico Hülkenberg, all not making it to the end of that Grand Prix there. So definitely not a result that those guys will be happy with either. But nice to know it wasn't just me that entirely bottled this Grand Prix. But having a look at the driver's standings, down to P11 overall, as Esteban Ocon able to get the jump on me there. Lewis Hamilton takes over the lead of the standings, 7 points clear of Max Verstappen there. The Ferraris are tied on 92 points with Ricciardo another 7 points back, and Valtteri Bottas just 2 points behind him. And having a look at the constructors standings, and the top 3 are separated by just 5 points, guys. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like, subscribe if you want to see more of my F1 2017 McLaren Honda career mode, guys. And I will see you all next time for a brand new video.